would like to call to order the City of Belton Planning Commission session. This is May 6th, Tuesday evening. Could we have the roll call, please?
Chairman McPherson.
Here.
Mayor Larkey.
Here.
Councilmember Pryan.
Here.
Commissioner Christensen.
Here.
Commissioner Crate.
Here.
Commissioner McDonough. Here. Commissioner Ruggles. Here. Commissioner Shutt.
Here.
Commissioner Walton.
Here.
Take a minute before we go on and start our actual business to welcome Commissioners Shutt and Ruggles to the Planning Commission. This is their first meeting with us. We're glad to have you as a part. They were appointed by the City Council at their last session. So welcome, and privileged to have you joining us. So, all right. I'm hesitating because did we not have minutes from our last meeting?
Correct. We will approve them at the next meeting.
Okay. I thought I was overlooking something, but I wanted to make sure that I was not. So, all right. First of all, welcome to all of you. We're glad to see the great turnout from our community. It definitely shows your interest in what's happening in Belton and in the community around you. And appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to be with us this evening. So we will move on to new business for this evening's session. The first item that we have is a public hearing, so we will call that public hearing to order. And this is to consider DEV 25-002, a request from Donovan Jones, the Commons of Belton LLC, to approve a rezoning from PR, Parks, Recreation, and Public Use, to R3 PUD, Multifamily Planned Unit Development, and a Preliminary Development Plan Commons of Belton for a 252-unit apartment development with 7 three-story buildings and amenities on 8.03 plus or minus acres, generally located west of Westover Road and south of Bong Avenue. And I will make a note before the director makes the presentation to us that we have received a number of email and phone and even some voicemail messages concerning this, and so just want you all to know that any emails in support of or in opposition to this public hearing item that were received prior to publishing the agenda packet were included at the time the agenda packet was published. Emails that were received by staff at mailtoplanning@belton.org after the publishing of the agenda packet will be provided to the Planning Commission prior to May 6th meeting and included as part of the public record that will be provided to the City Council in their agenda packet, which is tentatively scheduled for their May 27th meeting. Any emails received after the May 6th public hearing will be provided to the City Council on May 23rd in advance of the May 27th meeting. However, they will not be included in the published agenda packet. So just wanted to take care. Those that have either sent emails or reached out and contacted, want you to know that those will be a part of the official record that we have. So, Director?
Yep, thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Before this evening, our request for a rezoning, a preliminary development plan, and a preliminary plat for the Commons of Belton project on an 8.03 acre property located at the southwest corner of Westover and Bong Avenue. This request includes rezoning the subject property from PR, which is Parks, Recreation, and Public Use, to R3 PUD, Multifamily Plan Unit Development, and approval of a preliminary development plan for a 252-unit apartment development with amenities. The 8.03 acres includes 6.87 acres that's owned by the City of Belton and 1.16 acres owned by Calvary University. The future land use map adopted in 2011 and readopted in 2014 up until 2024 had the property shown as commercial. As part of the review of the future land use map adopted with the comprehensive plan in November 2024, the property was identified as Parks and Recreation based on the current use. This property has historically been maintained by the Parks and Recreation Department as seasonal practice soccer fields with no other site improvements on site. The proposed site plan includes 7 three-story apartment buildings for a total of 252 units. 359 parking spaces are proposed, all uncovered surface parking. Vehicular and pedestrian access are provided from both Westover and Bong Avenue. Amenities include a clubhouse, pool, and 2 playground areas. There are 3 modifications as requested as part of the PUD, 2 that staff believe are minor, which include the front setback along Westover from 30 feet to 25 feet, and a 2-foot increase in the building height to accommodate 3 stories. These 2 modifications are common for multifamily developments throughout the city. The 3rd modification, in which staff has expressed some concerns within the staff report, is related to the reduction in parking spaces from 378 to 359, which represents an overall loss of 19 spaces. The applicant did submit a draft copy of their tenant lease agreement, which states that the parking of more than 1 vehicle per unit is not permitted without prior permission from the landlord. This may be feasible for 1-bedroom units, however, depending on the household makeup, this may pose a challenge for 2- and 3-bedroom units. Since the publication of the agenda packet last Wednesday, the applicant has submitted revised building elevations and renderings that modify the building style and materials. The building heights have been reduced from 43.5 feet to just under 37 feet. All units now have balconies or patios where previously the 1-bedroom units did not. Materials are more traditional, consisting of stone veneer, lap siding, and shingle siding, especially at the base. Staff does have concerns with the side elevations that have been proposed, which are now composed of a single material, especially at the base of the building. The original side elevations had stone veneer up to the 1st and 2nd floors. Additional design elements and materials need to be added to the side facades, especially those that are visible from the street. The unit mix that's proposed is 84, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, so 84 units for each of those floor plans. The proposed amenity package includes a clubhouse, pool, and 2 playgrounds, barbecue areas, and enhanced fencing consisting of masonry columns with aluminum picket-style fences, which would be along the interior perimeter boundaries shared with the Army Reserve, the golf course, and Calvary University. Additional landscaping requirements are required to be met for the property, including street trees, parking lot trees, and foundation plantings around all buildings. In reviewing the request, staff is tasked with utilizing the rezoning criteria as required by the code. This includes a review of the 2050 comprehensive plan, of which this request fits under 2 of the chapters. First, the Parks and Recreation chapter. The city has been advised to have a long-term plan for the utilization of city-owned properties. The plan identified multiple properties, including the subject property, as undeveloped or underutilized that could be a redevelopment opportunity. Additionally, the city's goal should be to intentionally plan for and locate parks and areas currently underserved in areas with low levels of service. This area has the highest concentration of parks in the city, with 3 developed neighborhood parks and a developed regional park within a short walk or bike ride from the property. Under the Housing and Neighborhoods chapter, goals include supporting life cycle housing types for access to homes at all income levels for both current and future residents. This includes all housing types from single family to multifamily and at all income levels. Additionally, there was a lot of feedback throughout the comprehensive plan development process that new apartment developments rarely include 3-bedroom options. The proposed project provides new apartment units that are more affordable than recent apartments that have been built in the city. This project also provides 3-bedroom units, which have not been included in any new recent apartments except for Creekstone at Autumn Ridge, which has proposed 16 3-bedroom units. All other 3-bedroom units are in single-family, 2-family, or townhouse developments, which may not have the same access to amenities or services that a larger apartment development provides. Going through some of the other review criteria as we evaluate the proposal based on the compatibility with adjacent land uses. The site is located in an area with a mix of residential land uses, including single-family, 2-family townhouses, and dormitory housing. This is not an exclusively single-family area. and due to the former presence of the Air Force Base, it has always had a mix of housing options for residents. This site is also located near a growing light industrial and business park to the north, which continues to expand with limited new housing opportunities near those employment opportunities. Both proximity to growing employment and the access to housing tax credits specifically designed for these types of locations are the reasons that the applicant has proposed the project at this site. Apartments have traditionally been used as a compatible transitional land use between non-commercial land uses and less intensive residential land uses, which is why they're typically located along collector and arterial streets. The remaining rezoning criteria includes character, consistency with city goals, development trends, and the suitability of the property for the proposed development. The preliminary development plan includes compliance with the code and an evaluation of the modifications requested through the PUD as part of their review criteria. As a reminder, the proposal this evening should be reviewed strictly under those review criteria. Any decision regarding the potential sale of city property is strictly a separate city council decision and not part of the review of these applications this evening. Based on the application that has been submitted and reviewed, based on the review criteria in the code, staff recommends approval of the rezoning. With that being said, community development staff is very supportive of improving the park system, as is well documented in the comprehensive plan. Growing the city's tax base is critical to be able to maintain and enhance the park system. The amenities provided with this development also do not overburden the nearby neighborhood parks. The need for affordable housing is well documented in the comprehensive plan as well. Staff also recommends approval of the preliminary development plan and the preliminary plat. The development plan provides certainty on what can be developed with the rezoning. Should the developer not proceed with the development, a future developer would still be held to the same plan unless the PUD is amended through this process. The proposed site design, building design, and amenity package is similar to other apartment developments approved in recent years. With that, staff recommends approval of all three applications, and I'm happy to answer any questions. The developer and their representatives are here this evening as well to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Director. I will ask if the developer and their representatives have anything additional you would like to share at this time. And if you'll state your name.
Good evening. My name's Steve Warger, 6127 Northwest Pine Ridge Circle, Parkville, Missouri. Here on behalf of the owner-developer who had an emergency tonight and couldn't make it to the meeting. So I was going to do this anyway, but here I am to do it for sure this time. So again, Mr. Wright covered this pretty well. We have 252 units, mixed of 84, 84, 84. Parking was one thing that brought up, and I just want to address that a little bit. We do have the lease agreement that we would follow, which means every unit gets at least one slot or one space. There are other ones, as you have other cars, they could get a permit for one additional car on the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, as far as that goes. So we can keep control and keep kind of a number going. We're 19 short of your requirement of 1.5 times the number of units. But our experience with this level, normally don't have any problem with parking at that density because there's not that many people in this on more the affordable side that have multiple cars when they're there. Also, it's a very strict thing with this LIHTC on what the place looks like. They inspect it every year. The maintenance is a big key to them and to everyone else to keep this clean. The lease agreement also says there's no cars that broke down to be towed off. There's no boats, no RVs, no extracurricular, motorcycles, that kind of stuff. You're going to get one spot and that's it. So that should help immensely on some of these things that come up otherwise. Just for your interest in information also, with the LIHTC property, there are no vouchers allowed. So this is affordable housing, not low income housing. So the 1-bedroom apartments would be about $950, 2-bedroom $1,200, and the 3-bedroom $1,400. So it's affordable, but I think some of the other apartment complexes that you've had recently with the luxury ones are much above that. But this is trying to gear this for the people that can't afford to go into those luxury apartments. Another key to this is the developers that do this are required to hold this property for 16 years and comply with all this not HUDs, but MHDC regulations. So when things go up, they're only allowed to raise rates if the MHDC gives an overall state increase. And so they have to keep it in good shape, and it is monitored annually by MHDC, if not more often. And if there are complaints, obviously you have another, besides the city, you have other people that can come in and take care of that for us. There will be a property management company, on site that will manage the parking and the problems with that and any other thing with the units or the apartments themselves that needs taken care of. Real quick thing on the setback, I know we talked about on the 30-foot instead of the 25 instead of 30, but that's going to be a well-landscaped area, so that just helps us get the building there, but I don't know that you'll even notice the difference with the magnitude of landscaping in there. So with that, Mr. Finn may have something, but I'm happy to answer your questions.
Since this is a public hearing, what we're going to do is we're going to open it up for the public to give any comments, questions that they have. And then after we close the public hearing, then the council will, or the committee will go ahead.
Understand, and we
with
will do
any
our best to
further,
answer any
so.
concerns that come up.
Okay, appreciate you all being here this evening. All right, as we move into the next portion of this, just want to share a few of our guidelines that we do have as being part of the Planning Commission. We will call for anyone that would like to speak in favor of the presentation. And we'll ask you to come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. And we will ask that you limit your speech to 5 minutes or less. Basically, we want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to be heard. A lot of people have come out tonight, and we want to give fair opportunities for each one. If you have something that you would like to say and somebody else beats you to it and they say it, or they say it better, don't feel like you have to get up. We don't keep track of how many times somebody says the same thing, okay? So, you don't feel like you have to get up and repeat. It just will make it go a lot smoother for everyone involved. If you have another point that hasn't been made, by all means, we want to hear from you. But ask that if things have already been spoken that you would like to add, that we keep it that way. After we have done that, for those that are in favor, we will then open it for anyone that would like to speak in opposition of the request. And same things there. Again, ask you keep it limited to 5 minutes or less, and don't become repetitious of what has already been said. After everybody's had a chance to ask your questions, make your comments, then we will give opportunity for, we'll close the public hearing and then give opportunity for the Planning Commission to ask any additional questions and make any comments that they have before taking a vote. So just wanted to kind of set that understanding before we got started tonight. So at this time, I will ask if there is anyone that is here that would like to speak in favor of the request for adding this development. There is, if you will come to the podium at this time. Anyone here to speak in favor of the request? All right, and like I said, just state your name and address.
How you doing? My name is Rex Navarro. I live at 269 Ray Krabs Avenue here in the city of Belton. I'm a big proponent of this. As a longtime proponent of affordable housing and a former property manager of several affordable housing communities, senior affordable housing, chronic mental illness housing, seniors with chronic mental illness, PRAC 202, Section 8, and low-income housing tax credit, and various state housing authorities. I cannot express the importance of housing for all. I understand that there is a stigma that comes along with anyone who hears the word affordable housing. But those of us who work in this field understand the responsibility to our community to change the perception of affordable housing. There are many residents, families here within our city that struggle financially to make ends meet, and others that live on a fixed income that find it very difficult to find housing in this city. Families that have been generational residents of Belton, our friends, our families, our neighbors, are forced to relocate from a city they have called home. I do appreciate that the city of Belton is finally addressing the need for affordable housing. If this project is not approved to move forward, then I must ask, if not here, then where? And if not now, then when? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Appreciate that. Anyone else here that would like to speak in favor of the presentation? Seeing none at this time, we'll ask, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? All right, sir, if you'll just come to the podium, give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Arlie Scott. I live at 520 Corral Drive in Belton. I live in Cimarron Trails. We are one of the original owners that bought from Southwest Trade Corps and Home Savings Association in 1983. I have seen that neighborhood go through several rounds of decline and rebuild since that time. It's doing okay right now. It could go either way. I have good neighbors. We've been there for decades. I raised 5 kids there. I'm now retired. I'm a widow. My grandkids come over there. I don't want to see the neighborhood go down. I'm a little nervous about putting that many people in that small a space close to my home. That's about all I have to say. I'm pretty worried about it. I don't think it's right for that space. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Alfred Guillen. I live at 419 Corral. I've been there since June of 1983. And having 359, possibly up to 359 cars on Westover, Marquee, 155th Street, that is really going to increase the traffic through that whole area. And even on North Scott, it's going to cause issues there. And like the gentleman said before, that having that small of an area, having that many people in that one area, that's just too much, in my opinion. If they're looking for a space that's open, I'm sure there's lots of room out there by Loch Lord that would gladly take them. That's all I really have to say. And I do think it's going to, it's going to in the future. I think it's going to take down the value of the properties that are close to that whole facility. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I see someone moving to the mic, and then, sir, if you want to follow.
Hi, Teresa Cervantes. I live at 519 Whisper Lane. I am also a resident of the Cimarron Trails subdivision. I was raised in Belton. I'm also raising my own family here. I have proudly served our community on the Belton School Board of Education since 2017, and now also on the Belton Educational Foundation Board. Tonight, however, I am speaking not in any official capacity, but as a concerned citizen. One who grew up in poverty right here and who knows firsthand the difference between genuine help and hollow promises. Setting families up for failure under the guise of compassion is inhumane. Our help strips away sustainability, replaces green space with concrete, and overloads our systems already at capacity. The proposed Commons of Belton development is a 252-unit subsidized housing project planned for 8.5 acres, sited currently zoned for Parks and Rec. I want to be crystal clear, this is not an attack on poverty. I have lived it. This is about truth, transparency, and whether this project is sustainable and appropriate and genuinely beneficial for Belton's future. If anyone would like additional lists on my references, I have those available tonight and get those to you. When we talk about Belton's poverty rate, we're sitting between 9 and 13%. Over 50% of our school population is on free and reduced lunch already. Early childhood programs like Grace are maxed out with year-long waiting lists. Nonprofits like Heart and Hand and Harvesters report donation shortfalls and reduced volunteer support. Adding an additional 600-plus residents will worsen those strains, especially without a plan for added support. This project adds burden, not relief, to public safety, roads, mental health services, and schools already stretched thin. There's no positive revenue impact, and low-income households generate minimal tax revenues but increase city expenses. The developer Donovan Jones is leveraging over $2 million in federal 4% low-income housing tax credits and $23 million in tax-exempt bond financing. What does that actually mean? Donovan Jones isn't personally footing the bill for this project. Instead, he's using over $2 million in federal tax credits, which basically gives him a big tax break for building low-income housing, and $23 million in special government-backed loans that comes with lower interest rates. In other words, this project is being heavily funded by taxpayer resources, not private investors or investments. When federal funding dries up, and it often does, Belton taxpayers will bear the cost. Rents advertised between the $950 and $1,400 may seem affordable, but they are subsidized by fragile funding resources. Meanwhile, Mr. Donovan Jones pockets credits and subsidies, offering families false hope under the cloak of philanthropy. This deal reeks of favor. Public land bartered away behind closed doors without open listing, citizen input, or competitive bidding. This community has repeatedly expressed a need for affordable housing, and I'm not here to argue that. We do need that in our city. However, this is not that. Affordable housing supports working families. This is subsidized low-income housing. There will be requirements on income based off who can rent. It is not open to everybody. There's also very different impacts on crime, infrastructure, and public resources. It's equating the two is both misleading and dangerous. The lack of transparency and ethical concerns, no public listing, no community forum, no bidding process, just land, citizen-owned land handed over at a fraction of market value. Subsidies stuffed into a deal behind closed doors. Meanwhile, residents are locked out of the process. Concern regarding these issues is equally troubling. This doesn't feel like urban planning. It feels like a deal or a favor that's been cashed in. The developer's track record also very, very concerning. Donovan Jones has a documented pattern of failed and contested developments, most recently in Harrisonville. Records are available on Missouri CaseNet. He has ignored more appropriate sites, including one listed by his own real estate agent, zoned and ready for development. His agent also has that available on North Scott, between North Scott and 163rd. His repeated failed attempts to develop this project elsewhere within Belton demonstrates a predatory pattern, persistently targeting vulnerable properties without community alignment. This project seems driven more by convenience, profit, and hidden power dynamics than genuine community need. Why target this green space instead? Because it's convenient and because it looks like someone has paved the way for it. Westover and surrounding roads are not designed for this density. No sidewalks, no crosswalks, poor lighting, inadequate traffic capacity. The estimated 500 and 630 new vehicle trips daily will compromise neighborhood safety. Belton's crime rate is sitting at 28.28 per 1,000 residents. We currently have 48 registered sex offenders that reside in the 64012 zip code. This high-density subsidized housing and developments can statistically increase those numbers. This is particularly concerning as we have schools neighboring by with youth areas and parks. Nationally, similar developments see up to 25% higher concentrate of RSOs, critical context for protecting children and seniors in the area. First responders are already overextended. This project will stretch them to a breaking point. They are pre-existing issues, policies, policing county line already. If you get in an accident on county line, you have several counties and several cities all involved, and nobody wants to take the call. High-density and subsidized housing statistically correlates with increased crime, including property and violent crimes. Public safety cannot be an afterthought because we built it. It must drive site selection and resource planning first. The educational impact that will happen on our school district is we have declined support for this project. Public education provided by Grace Early Childhood Development has full classrooms and a waiting list over a year long. An influx of 70 to 90 high-needs students would compromise learning environments across the district. This site is inappropriately small as well, 252 units on 8.5 acres compared to Encore, which has 276 units on almost 12 acres. 301 Apartments has 306 units on 17 acres. The walking score on this property is also a 29 out of 100, car dependent with no safe access to foot transportation. The site lacks accessibility to essential amenities, public transportation, grocery stores, and medical facilities. This is isolating rather than integrating the future residents. This land is not empty. It's a green space used by youth and families. Its loss would leave a permanent hole in our park system. The city owns a 10.3 acre lot. It's the Old Oak Hill. This is flat, ADA accessible, and within walking distance to Dollar General, Heart and Hand, and Swope Health. There's also currently a bike path in place already on North Scott. The walk score over there is 51 out of 100. It's better suited for the walkability housing. No green space would be lost, no one would be displaced, and why isn't this being considered? The city is the ones who encouraged them to vacate so they could buy it. Belton has no coordinated plan for a growing homeless population or for our mental health and substance abuse services. Our own grassroots charities are turning families away. Food lines will tend to spill onto streets, and resource centers are becoming storefronts just to survive. How can we justify importing more need when we're failing to meet the ones that already exist? Citizens are asking questions, and they deserve answers. Why are alternative locations being ignored? Why weren't residents informed or consulted? Why are we the ones bringing this information to you? Why is our city hall not more concerned with these well-known variables? And why does this feel rushed, veiled, and misaligned with community needs? The proposed Commons of Belton development lacks rigorous vetting and thoughtful planning. This proposal feels less like strategic community planning and more like an obligation or favor being cashed in, driven by convenience, power, and profit behind the facade of planning. It's not a win for Belton. It's a ticking time bomb for our schools, services, and neighborhoods. This 8.5 acre parcel belongs to Belton citizens, not city leadership, and certainly not developers operating in the shadows. Our land cannot speak for itself, but the citizens of Belton can and will. Belton has always had a heart that serves, and I'm proud of that, but true service must be responsible, transparent, and community-centered. We, the citizens, urge you to prioritize sustainable development and choose sites or strategies genuinely supporting Belton's future, prosperity, and community integrity. I urge this commission to reject the Commons of Belton proposal, reject the backdoor deals, demand transparency, and invest in development that truly respects the needs and future of this community. Thank you.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, but remember, this is a session of the Planning Commission, so please keep the applause and comments and all limited. And also, I know we did go a little long on time. Let's try and watch that a little closer, please.
I'll be quick. My name is Nathaniel Alcock. I live at 415 Richards Ave. I am in the military housing complex that's right across the street from there. I'm concerned, I'm talking to you guys as a father. I got 4 kids. I got 3 that's with me there in Belton with my wife and my family. It is a community full of kids, full of people. We live 1 mile away from the elementary school that my kids go to. We live 2.5 miles away from the high school that my kids go to. This is not something that we need for our community and our families. The traffic alone would be enough to pose a big threat. My kids play on that soccer field daily. I see hundreds of kids playing there daily. Not to mention that on the other side of the road, on the other side of the Reserve Center, you got families and kids, and they're all on that road. The crime that could potentially happen, how are we going to facilitate that? How are we going to secure the safety of the people in the community? We land our helicopters there all the time. That is a morale booster for all the kids. I pick up a lot of people at that soccer field. We land 2-3 Chinooks there monthly. We have a mission with the Reserve Center there. I'm surprised that I don't hear more of a complaint about that. My concern is, as a father, the safety of the people here. It is a very tight-knit community. We all watch out for each other. We look after each other's kids. This is not going to be a good thing for the community. It is going to be nothing but trouble. That's it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Specht. My address is 508 Tanner Drive. I have been a resident, and I'm going to address the commission, the mayor, everyone else, but I also think it's very important to speak to everyone in this room as well. Can you all hear me okay? All right, great. I want to express firm opposition to rezoning proposal. And I want to be very clear. This is not an empty lot. This is the Westover soccer field. It is an 8.5-acre public parkland recognized by the Belton Parks and Recreation and has been used by generations of Belton families, myself included. I played soccer there as a kid. My dad called it herd ball. I was too small to really play anything that was very conductive. My dad also taught my kids how to fly a kite in that field. We've seen that, right? This land is not unused. It is not expendable. If this rezoning is approved, it is gone forever. The plan to cram 252 units of high-density subsidized housing onto this site raises serious concerns. The infrastructure simply isn't there, and I'm not going to repeat everything that Ms. Cervantes has already told us. There are no sidewalks. There are no walkable accesses, groceries, or services. The nearest store is a Dollar General a 1.5 miles away. And I'm sorry, the gentleman that was here for the developer, I didn't catch your name. Steve Warger. Thank you, Steve. So, Warger, correct? Mr. Warger just told us that these people can't afford cars anyway. You all caught that, right? Okay. So they're gonna have to walk that 1.5 miles. Traffic, should they be able to afford their cars, is gonna back up. Anybody have a kid that's ever gone to Gladden? You done the school pickup there? Yeah. You ever tried to drive past Gladden at 8:15 in the morning or 3:30 in the afternoon? Have you all done that? This isn't thoughtful development. It is rushed and short-sighted. Worse, this process has lacked basic transparency. To my understanding, the Parks Board was not informed of this proposal despite the land being part of the city's upcoming Parks Master Plan, which includes improvements for this very space. That's a fundamental failure in how decisions should be made when it comes to public land. Now let's consider who we're turning this land over to. The Commons of Belton was created just a few months ago. The LLC was. The registered agent, Janet Jones, which is smart to have the woman as the registered agent, so that's very good for tax breaks, good for her. She's associated with dozens of similar LLCs across the region. And if you look up the LLCs as registered in the state, you can see when they're created. Many have just been created in the last few months. A quick public records search raises questions about financial responsibility. And while we're not here to attack anyone, it is absolutely fair to ask, who are we entrusting with our city's resources? Are they qualified? Do they honor commitments? Do they pay their debts and fulfill obligations on time and in accordance with law? That information can be found by Google. If someone stands to profit off Belton, they should be fully vetted. We owe that to ourselves and to the generations of kids who want to play herd ball. We owe that to the generations who will live with the consequences of these decisions that are made in this room. Our parks are not placeholders for profit. They're sacred community assets, and we have few. They should only be considered for development if the project is transparent, community informed, and unquestionably in the best interest of Belton. This is not it. Belton's slogan, proud past, bright future. But there is nothing bright about trading away our green spaces in a quiet residential area for a developer that's going to use tax credit funded builds that offer no public input, unclear long-term benefit, and no true accountability. We are not opposed to growth. No one in this room is. We are also not opposed to affordable housing, which if you Google the cost of affordable apartments, or I'm sorry, just average rent, these dollars that we were just told today, as I did a quick Google search, sitting in this room, are on par with what the average rent is. There's nothing affordable about the average rent, if you haven't noticed. If we are going to move forward, they need to be appropriate locations without other opportunities available, which has been made clear that there are. We need to have clear public answers for every one of the questions that you're hearing tonight. Hasn't happened here yet, and maybe it will, but only behind closed doors. We deserve better. The children of Belton whom you want to have as residents, the people who move away from Belton and come back like I did because I wanted to raise my families here, those kids deserve better. Our community deserves better. I ask that you please reject rezoning and protect what belongs to all of us and what belongs to Belton. Thank you.
Thank you. I know it's tempting, but please try and restrain. Anyone else have anything that you would like to share as far as
Hello, my name is Heather Shelton, and I am a 20-year resident of Belton. I've got 3 daughters that I've been raising here in town. I am a strong advocate of this community. My address is 406 Airway Circle. I do live right off of Westover, and my daughters did also attend Gladden. The traffic concern is a huge one for myself also. I'm going to do my best not to repeat things that have been spoken to, but I do hope they are being heard and thoughtfully considered. How this plan came to be is not in alignment with how Belton proposes plans in general. I do hope those things are also considered. And I would also just like to point out that this is a precedent for how the city of Belton will handle proposals for rezoning of parks land, and precedents are also permanent. Those are things that, once set as an example, are things that are very difficult to vote or side differently going forward. So those are my primary concerns in addition to what's been stated. And I do appreciate everybody being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak. I'm Dr. Gary Horner. I'm a resident at 410 Sunset Lane in Belton. That's one house off of Westover. I think it's important to know who we're doing business with. And I see that Commons of Belton LLC, the listed agent, is Janet Jones. And Ms. Jones is a member of the RAPAC School Board. And I want to congratulate her as a long-time member of the Belton School Board in the past. I appreciate people who are serving on agencies, and boards such as you all. Was it Donovan Jones that was to be presenting this information tonight?
He was going to be here, but I was going to present.
Okay. And what's Donovan's last name? I'm sorry, middle name?
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
There's a Donovan, I'm sorry, Donovan Lee Jones, who is listed as a home address in Raymore, Missouri, who pled guilty to federal fraud charges in 2012. It's a public record, and I don't know if that is the Donovan Lee Jones that was to be here tonight. I was hoping to have an opportunity to ask him. I won't repeat some of the things that have been said. As a homeowner, I am concerned about home values, and I believe this development will have a negative effect on home values in the immediate area, and I'm concerned that the traffic along Westover, I live about 3/4 of a mile south of this development on Westover. Do you know if Mr. Jones is familiar with Century Global FZE? Okay. In doing a little bit of research on Google, Donovan Jones, again listed as a home address in Raymore, is CEO of a company called Century Global FZE. And their address is in the United Arab Emirates. And I just was wondering if this is a part of funding from foreign nationals. I'm always concerned about absentee owners, managers, developers of properties. I would encourage the board, the commission, to do a thorough vetting, and that's already been mentioned, but I just would like to reinforce that. Thank you for the opportunity to present here tonight.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
My name is Sarah Meekins, 18400 Y Highway, Belton graduate of 99. This is my hometown and has been for quite some time, except for the time period where I had to live in KCK in multifamily dwellings. It was built similar to this one. Lots of people stacked up on top of each other, not enough space, not enough roads, everybody in everybody's business, and that equals crime. I can tell you it does because I experienced it for 17 years before I decided to come home to my hometown of Belton that didn't have numerous multifamily dwellings prior to me moving back here. It didn't have the crime rate that it has now. I'm sorry, Commissioner Walton, are we bothering you or you got a headache? I feel like we're bothering you. Okay. No, I just wondered because I didn't know if there was something going wrong because he wasn't engaging with us like everybody else is. Regardless, I know that multifamily dwellings, even if they have amazing management, even if they are well planned, and even if you are thinking of the future of the Belton School District when making this decision, they bring crime, no matter what. They are hard to manage. I was on the board of my multifamily dwelling for the entire time period I was there. I lived in a co-op. My rent was $480 a month. That was low income because I bought in to that unit. I had to pay $3,000 to buy that unit. And then I had what was called monthly carrying charges. It's called Berkshire Village in KCK. It was an amazing village. with amazing affordability, but crime couldn't be stopped. I heard gunshots in my parking lot nightly. I had to listen to my neighbors fight in the parking lot nightly. When I came out here and moved to the outskirts, it took me 3 weeks to adjust to the silence that is Belton, and I was so grateful to be home. I do not want this for Belton. That field has been my field for numerous years. I had to run that base during my formative years. Mad Dog Hill ain't there no more. That's upsetting, but that was not you guys doing. Regardless, that field I have coached in, I have played in, I have exercised in, I have even helped mow it once or twice, because that field means so much to this community. The High Blue Wellness Center only has so many facilities they can rent out to somebody who's running competitive soccer, competitive cheer, kickball, and all the schools that rent out those time periods to us, they have slots, and they fill up fast if you're not on top of it. So if you don't want your third graders practicing at 8 o'clock at night, and you have no choice but to do it in the morning or in the early daytime, that field has sunlight. And that sunlight is free, and that field is free. And I don't have to schedule with anybody in order to use it. Thank you for your time.
We will ask again if there's anyone at this point, either, since I'm not seeing anybody move, either in favor or in opposition that would like to speak.
Yeah, I'd like to speak. I live on 616 Kenneth Lane. I originally came here, my ex-husband was in the military, and I really have enjoyed the parks in the Belton area. To hear this news about this project is, believe me, more than people just in this room. People all around Belton are very upset about this. And I don't have all the details that some other people have given, but I will say this. None of us in here are fools, and we all understand that the bottom line is it's going to lower our standard of living. And I am very against this. And if there's anything that we can all do personally to prevent this, please somebody help me or tell me, because I will do everything I can to prevent this from happening. Thank you. What's your name? Michelle Ferguson.
And Michelle, I would say you just did the best thing to do at this point, is to come and talk with us. And I would also suggest that you can also talk with your city council members as well. Those would be starting points that every citizen in the community has. So thank you. All right. Anyone else?
I said too low means, excuse me. It's required of you to say when you go in front of people. I don't like to talk in front of people. But my name is Paula Tuyasasopo Asaeli. I moved here back in '87 because of the military. I told God, I don't want to go there for 4 years. What is the Navy doing in the middle of nowhere? There's no ocean. Because my husband was always on a ship. And then my sister said, you go where your husband is. 4 years, piece of cake. When I was ready to go back home, and God said, nope, you're going to park right there. It's almost 40 years now. I can go on and tell you, but God gave me that house. If you want to know more about it, I'll be out here. You all know where I live, okay? But I just want to come here and say, I made this my home because I love the community, the people. This is something that I don't want happening here. I'm from San Francisco. I grew up in San Francisco. Originally, I was born in Ireland. But I know crime. You know, let's not camouflage about 900. 900 is going to be for about 3 months, and then you're going to raise it up to 1,200 per one bedroom. Seriously? In Belton? We don't do that. We shouldn't do that. But I just want you to know that I'm here to support my family here, my community. So may you find peace and, you know, because we're here to support you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, everybody knows my address. What's the mayor? What's the mayor? The mayor knows my address. 501 North Park Drive. You'll find a cross in front of the house if you go there now. All right, thank you.
Hello, I'm Melanie Hartenbauer, and I live at 110 Redbud Lane. Been here all my life. I'm raising my family here. I'm getting emotional. I'm baffled at how snaky this deal feels. This isn't what this town does to their people. I'm not against affordable housing, but again, like everybody else has said, this isn't it. Maybe we should stop letting these rental companies farm our town and having $2,000 a month rent for houses that are bare minimum quality. I've lived in one. Guess what happened on day one? AC didn't work, and they're like, oh, we might get you a window unit. $1,850 a month for a house that immediately we can't live in. It's not okay. So please, this is not that. There's a different location you can do this at. Thank you.
Ask again, anyone that would like to speak in favor or in opposition?
Hi, my name's Amanda Cundiff. I live at 211 Hillcrest. I've lived here in Belton my whole life, born and raised. My parents still live in the house that I was raised at. And, I mean, we already have a substantial amount of crime in the area. My neighbors, my parents' neighbors all have the Ring cameras, constantly picking up people on bicycles, people walking through neighborhoods. My parents are elderly, and so it is concerning to me that they are could potentially be targeted because, it takes them a few minutes to get up to get to the door. I do not agree with this, obviously. I don't want any increase in crime. This property, it belongs to the people, and by doing this deal, you're stealing from the people. You're taking away, a resource that the community can use, and you're selling it to somebody else for profit. So, thank you.
Opportunity?
Hi, my name is Maureen Hulbert, and I live at 7208 East 160th Terrace. I live on the east side of Belton, so this won't really affect me like that. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm a former teacher. I retired after 31 years, and I taught my children what democracy was and why we have governments and why we have city governments. And if you look today, there's probably, at least I was trying to count, about 75 people here. Of the 75 people, we've heard one that was pro this idea. We've heard many that are not, and we heard people applauding because they are against this decision. So I'd really like you to think about what you're doing. You were elected to represent the people. If you're representing the people, it looks like there's one vote that you have. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm Terry Ward at 7007 East 160th Street. I am the current Park Board President. However, tonight, I'm here wearing a citizen hat that I've worn for the past 35 years. Like all the citizens that have spoken, I'm opposed to the rezoning of this parkland for this project. The city just spent a lot of money to complete a comprehensive plan with a company called Confluence. Confluence sent out a survey that was statistically valid based on the amount of responses they received. The number one or number two things the citizens said they most wanted was green space and more amenities to our parks. That was their top priorities. Now the city decides to rezone parkland to sell off green space for low-income housing, ignoring what our citizens want and ask for. It seems that whenever green space is vying against economic development, it loses every time. This is your chance to let green space win. Vote with what your citizens have asked for. If you vote yes to rezoning this land, shame on you. Thank you.
Not seeing any move. Rusty.
I tried.
I saw you edging in.
I think most of you know me. My name's Rusty Sullivan. I live 117 West North Avenue. The citizens of Belton have voted numerous times and added to the charter, some of you sat on the charter with us, to keep the city and the parks separate. Their confidence that future city leaders would have to put the same value on parks land as the citizens were, they didn't have that much confidence. And that's why they kept us separate. It's up to you to make sure that the citizens get what they wanted a long time ago. Don't let somebody come in here and change what they wanted and the reason why they kept us separate. Thank you.
Looking to see if there's any more movement. Anyone else, either in favor or in opposition, that would like to speak? Ask once again, anyone that would like to speak either in favor or opposition?
Hi, I'm Audrey Taylor. I live at 1009 Geiger Road, so in the military complex there. I'm also a teacher. I teach over Kansas side because we had to move last minute. That was the only opening that was there at the time. And so I just kind of want to speak on the fact that as an educator, if your schools are already full to capacity and you have about 50% free and reduced lunch, adding a lot more people in that area is going to really put stress on the kids who are already in those schools. We can only reach so many kids one-on-one and giving them the help that they need. And if you increase that, it's going to bring down scores. It's going to bring down their retention, all that stuff. And I also want to talk about the green space. I do have a master's degree in conservation and outdoor recreation. And I will say that if you take away green spaces from these kids, you're taking away these activities. And one of the biggest indicators of success with kids is belonging to something, whether it's a sport, a club, whatever else. These sports are teaching our kids good morals. It's teaching them how to follow rules. It's teaching them good sportsmanship, just being a good citizen. And if you're going to take that away from them, you're kind of dooming our future citizens. So make sure that you keep them in the front of your mind. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, hello, good evening. Is this a little bit? My name is Katrina Combs. I live on 608 Emerson Drive, the side of Belton, so not effectively directed by this proposed area. But I would like to say, as a 5-year Belton resident, moved from South Kansas City, there is definitely a need for affordable housing for families that are affected by homelessness, families that are transitioning from just different lifestyles, families that have, you know, maybe a spouse or someone that's getting out of incarceration. So there is a need for this. Maybe the proposed area is not the best for walkability, for all the other situations that were mentioned. Maybe closer to the Swope Health would be a better spot. But I think Belton is not that small town feel anymore. I mean, we have so many distribution centers being built up. We are becoming more of a mecca for these distribution centers. And the employees that need to work there are going to need a city to live in. What's the closest city? Belton. So I think that if we want to see Belton grow, if you want your children and everyone to stay in this town and not move to other towns where there's more, opportunities for jobs and things like that, we have to get with the times. We have to get with the 21st century and the 21st century needs. And I just think that this is a good proposal, but maybe just not this location. That way we can have a diverse economic space for this community and it not just be a community of just all homeowners, but we do need people that have apartments. We do need people that have affordable housing. That's what makes a community. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't want to cut anybody off, but I don't want to drag it out. If everything's been said, both in favor or in opposition, I'll ask one final time, anyone to speak? Seeing no one moving, we will close the public hearing. And at this time, we will open up for discussion among the Planning Commission. We've heard a lot of input. We've heard a lot of questions. We've heard a lot of good people that are not afraid to get out and voice themselves when it's not easy to do. Sometimes I could see some hands shaking as they were standing at the podium. And I know that that was not an easy thing to do, to stand up here. And I just want to thank you all, first of all, for taking the time to be here, to express yourselves, to do it in the way that you did. I really appreciated the professional way that you brought the information and addressed the committee. And so I just wanted to say that first. But let me open it to the commission. Any questions, comments, any discussion from commissioners? There were some questions that were asked. Did we get answers to all of those questions that were presented? Well, I think maybe one thing, and I'm thinking maybe city staff can probably assist with this, but I think one thing that is important for you all to know is that what you are seeing and what you're experiencing tonight is showing that the system works. What happens is someone brings a presentation to the city and then they bring it to the Planning Commission, and the Planning Commission hears both sides and makes a decision. And that's basically what we are doing tonight. There was not a decision that was made ahead of time. And, I don't want you to feel like it was predetermined or anything. We're hearing from you. We are going to discuss, and we will make a decision as a planning commission. And that's the way that it should work in a good city, and Belton is a good city. So I want you to know that by participating tonight, you have made the system work. And there are going to be some times where things may go a little different than what we would have maybe done it if it was all up to us, and there's other times that maybe someone else will experience that same thing. But we just want you to know that we appreciate each one of you for coming and making the system work the way that it did. Director, is there anything else that you could share, or the city manager, concerning the process that we go through, just to help clarify? Because I felt like there were a number of comments that were made about maybe not going through and being transparent. And if we could just address that, I think that would be helpful.
You well stated it on the planning side. So when a developer comes to us, we have a pre-application meeting with them. We review the process with them of what the expectation is, what applications they have to submit. Ultimately, at that stage, we don't make a recommendation one way or another. We're just sharing with them, these are the codes, these are the requirements, this is the process. They go back, they look through that, they review that process, they make sure that it's a fit for what they're looking for, and then they submit that application to us. We review that plan that's submitted, go through this process. This application, complete application was submitted for this project in March. So it's roughly a 60 to 75 day full process. There's about 30 to 45 days of review internally. We notice the public hearing. That's roughly a 2 to 3 week notice. We post the property. Ultimately, I think one of the challenges in this particular situation is that the property, under state law and under our requirements, we only notify property owners within 185 feet. Well, the property owners within 185 feet are all city or government facilities. And so that's why we also put the notice in the public paper. It's on our website, and we post the public hearing signs on the park property, which is, I think, where most people saw that sign.
Manager, any additional?
Yeah, and I do appreciate what you're saying, Chairman McPherson, and what Matt was saying. And yes, that's why we do go above and beyond when it comes to the notification of what the legal requirements are, because it is a transparent process. And you're exactly right. This is part of that process. And this allowing the public hearing, getting the public feedback is built into the system to allow for this to take place. And so that way there are not deals that are done without the public's knowledge or without the public involvement. And so as far as the insinuations that there were done deals or this was rushed or this was pushed through, or no, this is just followed the regular process, and that we're at this stage of the process. And so, this is where it comes to you guys now for your recommendation, then it goes to the council based on your recommendation for them to decide whether to approve it or not. And so, I just invite the public at all stages for this development, any development, to participate in these types of open public forums, and also engaging city council members, because that's their representation on the council, and so that's where they can have a really big say and help sway decisions on these. As staff, it is not our role to tell a developer no necessarily. It's if they come with a project and they say, okay, what do we do here? We just say, here's, like Matt said, here's the process. And then we bring it out to the public view, and it comes to the planning commission, goes to the city council, and so that's when it becomes a public decision and a representation decision. So just hopefully people can understand that, and I appreciate the turnout. I appreciate the feedback, because these are the types of things that help guide us as we move forward, and we understand what the public wants from us. We can seek out, projects that hopefully can fill the need that the public is hoping we fill.
I will say that every time, at least for the planning committee and also for the city council, but every time the agenda is published ahead of time so that you have the opportunity to see that. This time before the meeting today, I actually had a couple of phone calls, and there were a number of emails, like we said, that were sent in to the city. And so those are ways that can be communicated to us as well, to make us aware of your opinion on anything that comes in. So it is not a rubber stamp committee. A lot of times, by the time it gets to us, it may seem that way because a lot of work has already been done, and a lot of the things have been worked out ahead of time behind the scenes before it gets to us, as far as details, and not saying that is just to railroad it through, but that is just to make it so that the whole process can be smoother for everyone that is involved. And a lot of the things, such as staff recommendations and all, are presented, and those are worked out as a part of the packet that is presented to us. So,
I have one question, Tom. I want to know,
is your mic on, Commissioner?
Yes.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
All right, just wanted to check.
How'd the project get started? Did the city put the property up for sale?
The process for this, there was actually a preceding project, potential project that was being discussed, that fell through. There was
On the same property?
No, a different property, different project using some of the same mechanisms. There's been talk about LIHTC, low-income housing tax credit, and what that award means and how you get that. A project was previously being discussed that they were trying to get LIHTC for, but it did not qualify because it wasn't in a qualified census tract. And so the reason this land, and I don't want to speak for the developer, but I believe the reason this land was identified as by the developer for this project is because it was the last piece of land that was open and undeveloped in the city of Belton within a qualified census tract. Yeah, so he came and said, hey, would you consider a project here for a low-income housing tax credit for affordable housing? And then we thought, well, rather than say no, let's push it through the process and see how this works.
Yeah, I was wondering how that worked.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, from the people that had questions, there's a lot of question about crime and just like the security as far as like fire and all that. And since we have those people responsible for that here, I was just wondering, is there a concern for fire and safety and all that with this development?
Just so you understand, we actually looked at the numbers from Encore and Center 301, and they really didn't add a significant amount to our call load at the fire department. Not like I would have thought they would have, and I think when we looked at them, they were pretty minimal. For
I don't remember the exact numbers, but we had looked at the same thing because I have concerns each time you have a large, we had two of those at the same time, and really thought we were gonna see this exponential increase in calls, which we didn't. We could supply those numbers over a year's time for both of those. And so, thanks. All growth causes concerns. We have to make sure that we're trying to keep up with the pace, and that has, over the last few years been more difficult. However, City Council has been very good at helping us expand our numbers. And so from the fire side, we always look at that. From a multi-unit complex like that, it's as far as fires themselves are concerned, we kind of look towards the technology and the codes to help us with that, which has been, substantial in the others. The fact that they're sprinkled helps that greatly. So really the bigger increase is typically the medical call side of it. And so if we could look at some numbers and produce that for the commission from the other two complexes.
we can just speak for the fire side of it, so on the police side, you have to talk to them. So.
And along those same lines, I was going to ask, has the school been talked? I mean, we've heard a lot of comments about the school. How is this going to impact our school system? Do we know about that? Do we know what their take is? It may not be part of what we can consider, but, and I apologize if it's not, but.
I don't know if the developer's representative would be able to answer that if they had talked to anybody at the school district.
Ryan Finn, Keller Williams, 18009 Deer Creek Lane, Pleasant Hill. We had conversations with Dr. Underwood and had talked about what his feelings were around the project. He didn't, and it's been publicly made, that he didn't come out in favor of the project. He couldn't publicly support it, but he also said he wasn't against the project either. I talked to him also about the district and the numbers of students within the district. And the district hadn't grown very much over the last several years, but he was excited to tell me this year that district numbers had gone up. So I was excited to hear that our city is actually growing in children coming to our district, because I firmly believe, and I grew up here, I graduated in 1995, and I watched our numbers slowly dwindle after I graduated. And to see the turn happening is important, because if we're not growing, we're dying. And you have to understand that anything that you're doing, you cannot stay the same. And as unfortunate as it is, change is going to happen. You can count on that. So, but to answer your question directly, Dr. Underwood was not specifically in favor, but he was not against it either. So.
Further questions from? So I would just say that we have several alternatives that are before us as to how we can proceed with this were listed. I will read this from the staff presentation, but the alternatives that we have this evening, and again, I will just reiterate what the director said. We are talking strictly about rezoning at this point. We're not talking about a developer or anything like that that would be involved with the project. We're just talking about, do we want to rezone the property from current parks and recreation to the multifamily. And so our alternatives would be a motion to recommend approval for the rezoning, a motion to recommend denial for the rezoning, and a motion to continue the application for further information. And I should say that that also on 1 and 2 does include the preliminary development plan. So it would be both of those items.
I'll second that.
I'll second. Okay.
Okay, we do have a motion in 2 seconds. Any final discussion or comments? Seeing none, could we have the roll call, please? And just to clarify, if I could, so that there's no mix-up on this. The motion is to deny, so if you vote in favor of the motion, you are voting to deny proceeding with this plan. Say yes to say no. All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Pryan.
Aye.
Commissioner Walton.
Aye.
Commissioner Ruggles.
Aye.
Commissioner Crate.
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough. Commissioner Christensen.
Aye.
Chairman McPherson.
Aye.
Commissioner Shutt.
Aye.
Mayor Larkey.
Yes.
All right, so the motion did carry for denial. Please, I know it's hard, but please, we do have to remember that we are in a public meeting right now. So that the motion for rezoning and the preliminary development plan then have been denied by Planning Commission. All right. Okay, Director?
And then, based on that vote, I would recommend that the commission vote to table the preliminary plat.
Okay. So, based on the suggestion from the director, the preliminary plat would have become important had this passed. It would have been kind of a formality vote at that point, but since this was denied, is there a motion to table the preliminary plat?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you. A motion and a second. Any discussion or concern as to what we're doing? All right, could we have the roll call, please?
Chairman McPherson.
Aye.
Commissioner Walton.
Aye.
Commissioner McDonough. Mayor Larkey.
Yes.
Commissioner Shutt.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryan.
Aye.
Commissioner Christensen.
Aye.
Commissioner Ruggles. Commissioner Crate.
Aye.
Thank you. So that would have been item B that was in our agenda, DEV 25002, and that has been tabled. All right. We will move on then to item C under new business this evening, which is FMP 25-002. Request from Brian Ron with Autumn Ridge Homes LLC to approve, and I will hold for just a moment. I know a number of you were here for this item, so let's just take about a minute, give you a chance to stand up, stretch, and We'll make it 2 or 3 minutes. All right, we will call the meeting back to order and proceed on to our next item that was on our agenda. Item number C, which is FMP 25-002, request from Brian Ron with Autumn Ridge Homes LLC to approve a final development plan for Creekstone at Autumn Ridge, a 144-unit apartment development with 6 buildings and amenities on 9.36 plus or minus acres, generally located on the west side of South Mullen Road from Smoky Hill Railroad right-of-way to plus or minus 400 feet south of Sycamore Drive. And Director?
Thank you, Chair and Commission. This is the final development plan for Creekstone at Autumn Ridge, which, as you just mentioned, the locations of that, so I won't repeat that. I'm also going to present on the final plat at the same time with this, just because they are related. The proposed development includes 144 multifamily apartment development with amenities, as well as 2 single-family lots on Fall Creek Drive, which is the block to the west of this development. The rezoning and preliminary development plan for this project was approved by the City Council back in January of this year. Preliminary plat was approved by the Planning Commission in November of 2024, which went into effect based on the Council's approval of the rezoning development plan in January. Staff has reviewed both applications, and they are in substantial compliance with the previously approved plan and the plat. The site plan, since it's such a linear site, I have the north half and the south half on the screen separate, which are also generally how it's laid out in the plan set. There are 6 buildings, 4 two-story buildings on the middle and south block, and then 2 three-story buildings on the north block. Again, the site plan matches the site plan that was provided in the development plan. There are 267 parking spaces, which is actually an increase of a couple of spaces, and they accommodated that by moving the trash enclosures around. So there's 219 uncovered spaces and 48 garages. Access will be provided from Silver Maple Drive, Sycamore Drive, and 1 access off of South Mullen Road for the south block. And then, as I mentioned, amenities have been provided for this site. The modifications, there is only 1 minor setback deviation that's been added as part of this, and that's based on when they remeasured the development plan with the final plan. The clubhouse and the apartment building on Lot 3 are slightly into the 25-foot setback, so they're requesting up to a 1-foot setback to allow that modification, which staff believes is warranted. Building design, I did pass out a revised building design for you at your seat. This was just based on looking at the floor plan. We noticed that the floor plan and building elevation didn't fully match the building lines that are on, or the footprint that's on the site plan. So this was just a general error, but not anything that changes the overall design of the project. So really the only change is this is what the top image here was what was submitted to you. Which shows just a double bay of units here and then a single bay here. Essentially, the site plan had this is a double bay as well, so that's what you're seeing here. So that's the only change, and that site plan is what was also with the preliminary development plan. No changes in the overall unit count, it's still 144 units. No changes in the building materials. A minor change with the previous balconies had a lot more enclosure. This time they've opened it up a little bit more just for additional light and air, but they will still maintain that privacy wall to separate the 2 balconies or balconies or patios that are adjacent to each other. The developer did mention that they may modify the color palette, which staff has no concerns with, as there's no specific color requirements per the code. The color palette may change to a more black and white farmhouse color palette, similar to the Encore would be a good example of kind of what that would look like. Stone veneer, lap siding, board and batten siding, and shingle siding are still all part of that color or material palette. Clubhouse is also up here at the upper right of the screen. Again, same color palette and materials throughout the development, so it's cohesive. Amenities, this was talked about quite a bit with the preliminary development plan as well as with the neighborhood meeting that preceded that. There will be a clubhouse and pool on the center block, dog parks for small and large dogs on the north block, and then the south block will have pickleball courts, a picnic pavilion, covered pavilion, which will be like the one here in the lower right, and then a playground as well. So all those amenities have been carried forward, and then entry signage is also proposed at the intersections at both entrances. Lastly, the landscape plan that was in the packet we knew was not fully completed to what staff had recommended. And so since then, we did receive the additional landscaping that was requested. And overall, this is above and beyond what we had actually requested. So overall, this is great and a great enhancement as part of the PUD process. You'll see enhanced landscaping along all four sides of the buildings, as well as the clubhouse and adjacent to the dog parks and the gazebo. Or the shade structure. So overall, probably one of the, if not the nicest landscape plan that we've seen for our apartment complexes. So we're very happy to see that. And that concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions or comments for the staff?
So the board and batten siding, let me pull up a better view. Yeah, Brian, do you know where the board and batten siding is?
I believe on the top picture. Hi,
Brian Ron, 1120 Eagle Ridge Boulevard, Grain Valley, for the developer. So we have on the, let's just go with the top picture there, where it kind of looks like blue and then the green and the white. So I believe the white is board and batten, the green is a shingle, and then the blue is the lap. And then that, would follow through on the other ones. Like I said, that's from memory, but I know it's kind of hard to pick up there. But, that's the intention, is to have the three, different materials to create that, that look and the difference there. As mentioned, we are, looking at some different color palettes, but overall, the types of materials and stuff like that, we're going to stick with that.
This is a comment only. My favorite color is blue.
Okay.
You can stick with that.
So does that mean passage is dependent on it being
No,
blue?
not
Is
at
that what
all.
you're trying to say?
In no way, shape, or form.
Well, I chose the color palette that you see up there. I did that personally. So, but I also,
All right.
I also have seen some other ones, including one that we're under construction with right now with a different color palette. That's like, wow, that's really nice too.
Well, I'm not writing the check, so.
Any other questions, comments? Or we could entertain a motion at this point.
Motion to approve the final development plan, FMP 25-002 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. Ask once again for any final comments or discussion. Seeing none, could we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Crate?
Aye.
Commissioner Shutt?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryan?
Aye.
Commissioner Walton?
No.
Commissioner Ruggles? Chairman McPherson?
Aye.
Mayor Larkey?
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen?
No.
Commissioner McDonough?
That has passed, so we will move on to item D, which is FMP 25-002. Number sounds familiar. It is the same. Okay, I want to make sure I'm not reading things wrong. Request for Brian Ron with Autumn Ridge Homes LLC to approve a final plat for Creekstone at Autumn Ridge, a 5-lot and 1-tract residential subdivision on 9.80 plus or minus acres, generally located on the west side of South Mullen Road from the Smoky Hill Railroad right-of-way to plus or minus 400 feet south of Sycamore Drive. And Director, anything additional on the final plat?
I'll just mention that the final plat does include the 3 apartment tracts plus the common tract on the apartment complex, which includes the pickleball court, the playground, which those are anticipated to be open to all of Autumn Ridge, not just the apartments. And then there's 2 single-family lots that will be platted right behind the middle block. Also, as part of this, there's a development and maintenance agreement that we are currently working on that will be presented to the city council for their approval, as well as because there was previously on the north half of the middle block, there was a 3-lot office park subdivision approved on that property in 2008, which did not proceed. So there will also be a vacation ordinance officially vacating that plat that will go along with the final plat to the city council.
All right, any questions, comments? Motions?
Motion to approve the final plat FMP 25-002 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, and final ask for questions, comments. Seeing none, could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Larky,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen,
No.
Commissioner McDonough, Chairman McPherson,
Aye.
Commissioner Ruggles, Commissioner Crate,
Aye.
Commissioner Walton,
No.
Commissioner Shutt,
Aye.
Councilmember Pryan.
Aye.
Thank you. Move on to the next item, and that is our director's report.
Our next meeting that was scheduled for May 20th, since nothing was continued from this meeting, we do not have any other applications currently in the queue for that meeting, so that meeting will be canceled. We are still waiting to find out about June 3rd, but one thing that we will be working on as a goal this summer is to have a training session with the Planning Commission, since it's been a number of years since we've had that. And most of our commissioners are new, so it would be great to have that training to kind of understand the processes and procedures and how we look at things, not only from staff's perspective, but also what we're asking you to weigh in on as part of your review.
Very good. Look forward to that. I got to go through that when I first came on a long time ago, and it's very beneficial. So. All right. Anything further that we have?
Second.
Hold on, you didn't let me. Go ahead, you've already started.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.